From the mists of feudal Japan, a figure emerges, his silhouette defined by the curve of a deadly sword, the samurai. Their name is etched into history, synonymous with unwavering loyalty, lethal skill, and an unshakable code of honor. They were masters of war, capable of turning battles with a single, decisive stroke of the katana. Yet they were also poets, scholars, philosophers, who sought enlightenment in the delicate art of a tea ceremony or the mindful sweep of a calligraphy brush. What was the code that bound them? The philosophy known as Bushido, which demanded a life of discipline and a readiness for death. How did they rise from provincial guards to become the undisputed rulers of a nation for centuries? Join us as we journey beyond the myth to uncover the true story of their rise, their reign, and their dramatic end. This is the way of the warrior. Their story begins in the 10th century, during Japan's Heian period. The central imperial court was losing its grip, and lawlessness was spreading through the distant provinces. In this chaotic time, wealthy landowners, known as the daimyo, needed a way to protect their territory and power. Their solution was to hire private armies of skilled soldiers. These warriors were called samurai, a name that meant those who serve. At first, they were simply loyal guards, bound to protect their masters. But as their skill in battle grew, so did their influence. They evolved from mere hired soldiers into a powerful military and political force, one that could shape the destiny of the nation. By the 12th century, they had completed their ascent, rising from guards to become the true ruling class of Japan, led by their supreme commander, the shogun. What truly made a samurai a samurai? The answer lay not in the sharpness of his sword or the strength of his armor, but in the depths of his soul. This soul had a name, Bushido. Literally meaning the way of the warrior, Bushido was not a written book of laws. It was a living moral compass passed down through generations, guiding every moment of a samurai's life. It was a set of principles that defined how they should live, think, and feel, both on the battlefield and in times of peace. The 7 virtues that formed the foundation of this way served as the hammer and anvil that forged their character. The first and most fundamental virtue was gi, rectitude, and justice. This was the ability of a samurai to do the right thing without hesitation, regardless of the consequences. Gi was not about blindly following rules. It was about having a strong moral sense to perceive what was just and fair in every situation. The second virtue was yu, courage. This, however, did not mean reckless abandon. The courage in Bushido was intelligent and honorable. It was about feeling fear, but acting in spite of it for the right cause, knowingly facing risk for a just purpose. The third principle was jin, compassion. It might seem a contradiction for a warrior to have a compassionate heart, but according to Bushido, the strongest warriors were also the most merciful. A samurai was expected to use his power and skill not only to defeat his enemies, but also to protect the weak, the helpless, and the innocent. The fourth virtue was rei, respect. This was not just politeness towards one's superiors. Rei included showing respect even to an enemy, being gentle to those weaker than oneself, and always maintaining a humble demeanor. True power revealed itself not in brute force, but in controlled and respectful behavior. The fifth virtue was makoto, sincerity and honesty. A samurai's word was his action. Lying or being duplicitous was one of the greatest shames. A samurai whose words and deeds were one and the same earned the trust of all around him. The sixth and most famous virtue was meiyo, honor. Honor was the ultimate measure of a samurai's identity and worth. A samurai made all his decisions and took all his actions with his personal honor in mind. To lose one's honor was a fate more terrifying than losing one's life. Finally, the seventh virtue was chugi, loyalty. This was the unwavering devotion a samurai owed to his master, his daimyo, and his clan. This loyalty was absolute and unquestionable. A samurai's life and sword belonged to his lord. Together, these 7 virtues combined to create Bushido, the soul that forged a samurai's will of steel, and transformed him from a simple soldier into a legendary, honorable warrior. A samurai's life was one of ceaseless preparation, from birth until death. In their world, peace was merely an opportunity to prepare for the next war. The art of war, therefore, was not just a set of techniques for them. It was a way of life. This art required brutal discipline, mastery over numerous weapons, and an unwavering mental focus. The way of the samurai actually began not with the sword, but with the horse and bow, Kyuba no Michi. Or the way of the horse and bow was the core philosophy of the first samurai, making precise shots with their asymmetrical longbows called the yumi, while galloping on horseback was one of their greatest skills. As the battlefields changed, the long spear, or yari, rose to prominence, an effective weapon in infantry formations and against cavalry. Versatile and deadly polearms like the naginata were also a feared part of their arsenal. The samurai was a versatile war machine who knew which weapon to use depending on the situation, but among all these weapons, one stood apart from the rest. It was far more than a weapon. It was the soul of the samurai, the katana. The process of forging a katana was a sacred ritual that could take months. A master swordsmith would heat, hammer, and fold the steel countless times. This folding process purified the steel, strengthening it, while giving it both flexibility and an incredibly sharp edge. Every sword had a unique temper line pattern called the hamon, created during the quenching process. This was the sword's signature and its soul. Samurai carried this long sword with a shorter one, the wakizashi, in a set called the daisho. The katana was the weapon of the battlefield, while the wakizashi was used for close quarters combat and for the final recourse of honor, the ritual of seppuku. This deadly art also required unique protection. The samurai armor known as yoroi, made of lacquered metal plates laced together with silk cords, this armor was surprisingly flexible. The yoroi was not only for protection, it was a work of art and a status symbol. The family crests on it, and the terrifying facial masks called mempo were designed specifically to strike fear into the enemy, reflecting the identity and power of each warrior. But the path of the warrior was not always forged in battle. So what happens when the drums of war fall silent? After the Tokugawa shogunate unified the nation, Japan entered the great peace of the Edo period, an era of domestic stability that lasted for over 250 years. The samurai, a class bred for conflict, faced an existential challenge and had to find a new purpose. Many traded the sword for the seal, transforming into the administrators of the realm. They managed castle towns, collected taxes, and enforced the law, their role shifting from warrior to guardian of the civic order. But this change was also profoundly cultural. The intense discipline of Bushido was channeled into peaceful arts. They mastered shodo, or calligraphy, where each brushstroke was a meditations expressing their inner state. They embraced sado, the tea ceremony, a ritual embodying harmony, respect, and purity. Many became accomplished poets, capturing fleeting moments in haiku. They proved that the samurai spirit wasn't just about mastering the blade, but about the relentless pursuit of perfection in all things. It was a new battlefield, one fought with ink and etiquette, where the brush was wielded with the same soul once reserved for the sword. But this world of refined warriors and artist bureaucrats was not destined to last. In 1853, a fleet of massive steam-powered warships arrived in Tokyo Bay. These were the American Black Ships, and their arrival shattered Japan's 2 centuries of self-imposed isolation. The shock plunged the nation into chaos. The shogunate, unable to repel the foreigners, lost its authority, leading to civil war and the dawn of a new, frantic era, the Meiji Restoration. To avoid colonization, Japan's new leaders believed the nation had to modernize at a dizzying speed. Railways, factories, and a modern conscript army, open to all classes, became the new priority. The feudal system, with the samurai at its heart, was now seen as an obstacle to progress. The final blows came swiftly and decisively. The government abolished the samurai's stipends, their main source of income. Then the Haitore Edict of 1876 banned them from wearing their iconic swords in public, stripping them of their most visible symbol of status. After nearly 1,000 years of dominance, the warrior class was officially dissolved. Their era had come to an end. The samurai as a class may have vanished into history, their swords destined for museums, but their spirit never truly died. The principles of Bushido, unwavering discipline, deep loyalty, A relentless pursuit of excellence and a profound sense of honor became woven into the fabric of modern Japan. This spirit can still be seen today. From the